we all well?
Yes.
What a shit response that is. You're quiet. You're also sober, aren't you? It's just too early in the evening. Let's try one more time. Are we all well? Thank you very much. Like Americans. That was much better. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good. Welcome to the show. I feel a bit like Belle sitting down, so I'll just stand. A sort of Joe Strummer stance like that. That's good. I'm James. I'm your host. We have 3 wonderful acts on the bill this evening. Woo! Exciting. Give me a cheer if you are from Brighton. Woo! Thank you. What a lovely place to be from. It's great, isn't it? I love it here. Give me a cheer if you live in Brighton but you're not from Brighton. Woo! A few others. Good. One. Give me a cheer if you're just in Brighton for a few days. Woo! Well, that's great. Well done. And have you seen some more shows? So have you seen some other shows?
I've seen a few.
Good. Great, good, shit.
Some good, some shit.
Yeah, that's what we aim for. That is the idea.
Perfect.
Yeah,
We need
great.
the good and the bad.
We do, that's it, yeah. And the other. Good. Good. Yeah, you were going to jump in with that, were you? Good. You can pipe it. Yeah, if you've got extra punchlines, you can just join in with me. Good. So I am your host, as I said. We've got 3 wonderful acts. That's gone a bit echoey, isn't it? It's a bit like a sort of storytelling, sort of ghost story vibe. Our first act is a storyteller. Is that better now?
No.
It's still quite reverby, isn't it? If I do that, is it better?
Yeah.
By my crutch. You know, you said that out loud. I'm not flying low, am I? No. Good. Is that really bad, the sound? Can we ask Rafe to come through and change the reverb on it? Is he there?
I can do that.
Yeah, that's very kind. Thank you very much. Because I'll fuck it up. The other day, when we had our first show, halfway through, the lead came out. Are you still laughing at your own joke?
It wasn't a joke. I'm genuinely very distracted.
You are getting distracted. Can you see what religion I am? I'm not quite that tight. The other day we were doing the show, and the mic lead came out of the amp, but the sound kept going. Fucking spooky. You're really looking away, aren't you? Is it really off? If I do that, is that worse? I can't even see which gender I am through the... Round of applause for Rafe, who's checking the...
I don't know what I'm doing.
You don't know what you're doing. There's 4 basic rules for comedy if you haven't been to shows before. First one, mobile phones off. Mobile phones off. I want a silent, if that's okay. Yeah. That's better, isn't it, the sound?
Yeah.
Let's hear it for Rafe.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Rafe. Don't screw yourself in the bollocks. Good.
Okay,
He's managed to avoid doing that.
How's your work?
Thank you very much. Second rule is don't be a dick. By that I mean don't talk loudly, annoy everyone around you. If the person you're with is really stupid, you can whisper to explain the jokes.
You'll be right.
Good. Just to explain, what was the third rule? There is a third rule. Is mobile phones off, no talking. It will come to me. There is one more. Fourth one is let's have a lovely time. So very, very quickly, I'll choose one person at random to talk to in the audience. You, madam. What's your name? You don't know? Do you really not want me to talk to you? Oh, okay. Are you with anyone here tonight? Any friends or... Your friend just went, no. Not with her. Is she on her own, or are you with her? Yeah.
On her own.
What's your name now?
Racky.
Racky, nice to meet you. So you're not from Brighton, are you? Didn't cheer the first one. Whereabouts are you from?
London.
London, oh, me too. Whereabouts in London?
Walthamstow.
Walthamstow, so west. E17.
Exactly.
No, east.
East.
That's what I meant. I mean, they're very similar, west and east, aren't they?
No.
No. Good. And what do you do for a living?
I'm an occupational therapist.
Occupational therapist. Can't really take the piss. Bit of a comedy cul-de-sac for me, isn't it? I mean, let's just...
That's Kate.
Kate, okay. So you guys are all together?
Yeah.
That's lovely. What's the event? Is it like a meeting of old friends or Have you all come to Brighton for a few days, and you all live in London?
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Let's hear it for these ladies here. Well, I'm keeping it very tight because we've got 3 wonderful acts on the bill. We've got to be out dead on 7:15 for the next show. So it's time to welcome your first act. Now, I mentioned before that we have 3 different types of act on tonight. The first one is a storyteller. Are you ready for your first act? Yeah! Let's hear everyone stamping their feet, clapping their hands, and cheering. What a wonderful Belle, Emilie, go!
Not that short. Sorry. I'm going to tell you a little tale called Objectivity. Now, once upon a time, it was decided that household objects ought to be given sentience. And so, in the great hall, it came to pass. Now, this immediately dissolved into chaos, which was to be expected, as the surest way to test that class is self-aware is to find that one is lacking in it. Chairs composed operatic laments about being sat upon, stairs began to demand anti-wrinkle creams, and pairs of socks that had been arguing with each other immediately set off in different directions. Oh, and toasters and microwaves got into heated arguments, but... Finally, it was decided that perhaps the best thing to do would be to find one object most invaluable to delegate. Now here, a new scuffle ensued, as everyone was most eager to be the one to find their champions. Clocks and watches went so far as to move their hands backwards and forwards at dizzying rates, so as to be able to search space-time as thoroughly as the here and now. Only trouble was, with time so unsure of itself, this resulted in some rather odd paradoxes, such as when a group of ancient hieroglyphs ran into a young party of emojis. I'm told they got along splendidly, going so far as to trade places, in the name of science! Or, depending on who you ask, at least a fun night out. Those on our side of the space-time continuum would have found ourselves texting things like, "See you tonight, lion onk feather," as an ancient Egyptian chiseler suddenly found he'd struck an aubergine into one of the sacred tablets, despite being quite sure he'd never seen a strange fruit in his life. All timepieces were eventually pulled out of the search for objectivity and left to judge the gods' egg and spoon race. And so it was until every object had departed from the great hall wherein they had become self-aware. All but one. A little rug sat thoughtfully in front of the great fire, resting its top in its tassels. "Aren't you going to join in the search for objectivity, little one?" boomed a primordial essence. Now, some of you might be wondering here if it would be correct to call this being a god. Well, they didn't think so. For one thing, they didn't know why. Oh, they'd struck up a sort of cordial friendliness with A through X, and even rather liked Z, but why? Oh. And anyone who doesn't know why surely can't be a god, even if they can turn a pig into a grapefruit or rain plagues upon unsuspecting dissidents, and that's heaps of trouble anyway. And they detested the egg and spoon race. So they were here, overseeing the great hall. No, sir, said the rug. Oh, that is, yes, sir. Well, the thing is, I'm not particularly built for mobility. Here the rug gave a few pitiful flops. Oh, I see, chuckled the essence. And here he snapped his fingers with a zap, though it might have been a zip. And the rug felt himself lifting off the ground. Whoa! He said as he careened about the room, delighting in his newfound levity. "See fit to join in the search for objectivity now, little one?" "Yes, sir," said the rug, and he flew off to scour the land. Now, the first place he came to was a stone cottage with a rather large pond out back. That seems as good a place as any to find invaluable objects, he thought. And he scuttled up to the door and knocked with his tassels. Some muttering could be heard inside. "What? Yes, come in. The rug creaked open the door, and there at a large desk sat a man with wild greying hair that seemed to take gravity only as a suggestion, and large round glasses that magnified his already owlish wide eyes. "Oh, a flying carpet! Splendid! Just the thing! Actually, sir, I'm a rug, said the rug. See, carpets tend to fit themselves to a given shape, and rugs are a little bit more mobile. Here he fluttered a bit happily. What? Oh, of course you are. Tell me, rug, do you know the phrase, teach a man to fish? Thought the rug. Oh, I believe it is a teach a man to fish, you feed him for a day. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a year, or something like that. Close enough, answered the philosopher. The phrase is, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. Yes, said the rug. That was it. But what if I proposed to you it wasn't? What if you were to teach a fish to man? The rug sighed and realized the rest of this story was almost certainly going to be some kind of existential romp, despite his agent assuring him he'd been booked for a comedy show. I call it, grinned the philosopher, evolution. Might take a little bit of time, though, said the rug. Oh, not too long, only a few billion years. Sounds like a rather long fishing lesson. But patience is key. And now then, little rug, you will just fetch me a fish from out back, won't you, whilst I get the accommodation tub ready? Splendid! Wonderful! Thank you, said the philosopher, for this is undoubtedly what he was. And the rug, being obliging by nature, fluttered off to the pond out back. The pond was a clear, sparkling thing with depths impossible to gauge, and the rug could see silver and gold shapes darting back and forth and back and forth, and the rug, feeling that enough thought had been taken into this account and what was required now was action, dove into the pond. He was grateful to find that swimming came naturally to him, his rectangular woven frame giving him the graceful glide of an eel or an over-ambitious lasagna. Eventually, he cornered a school of golden fish and tried to catch one's attention. Excuse me. What? Said a fish. Well, see, I was wondering. Just, perhaps would you like to learn to man? Yes, said the rug, who was beginning to find this conversation a mite one-sided. Well, I'm sure it'll be fun. You'll get to evolve, and it doesn't leave much time to be bored. Oh. Well, if you don't mind. And here the rug shimmied himself into a sort of makeshift net. He found the swim back up to the surface a mite more difficult, as he had to give it a sort of hop, wriggle, jump motion, and he was well aware of the fish wriggling inside of him. But as he floundered his way to the surface, and feeling quite confused with his lot in life, broke ground, he sent little droplets into the sun like lost stars, and settled himself comfortably-ish in the sun to dry. One studious goldfish, ready for nature to take its course, he said, feeling tired but triumphant. Splendid! Cried the philosopher. Just the thing! And he had indeed been filling up a rather large ornate tub, and he waved an absurdly oversized ladle. Now, just hold on to Blot there while I get some supplies. Sure thing, said the rug. So, Blot, said the rug, feeling a burgeoning awareness of the philosophy at hand. Are you ready to, learn to man, as it were? The fish blinked his little fishy eyes at him, suggesting that he'd never thought of such a thing before, distinctly enjoying his uncomplicated fishy life. He inhaled and sighed, releasing a stream of bubbles into the air, ethereal little globes of doubt. Plop, plop, plop. There you go, you're having profound thoughts already, said the rug, in what he hoped was an encouraging tone. You could be a philosophish. Or a fishy philosopher, cried the philosopher, returning from the cabin with armfuls of canvases and rubber ducks and paintbrushes and obligatory assortment of who knows what, all of which he tossed into the tub with a great flourish, shall be a contemplation of colour first. Thus we shall teach the fish to man through the medium of creativity, pure expression. For once there is thought embodied, the body is most apt to follow the thought. He paused here, looking pleased with himself. And we'll call him Blot. Did I say that already, did Rug? I don't remember. Ah, well, what do you think of the name? The Rug was not impolite, but he thought to himself, truth be told, he'd never quite gotten the hang of names, himself being known as none other than Rug. He felt additional monikers only confused matters. As good a name as any, he mused. Splendid, said the philosopher. And the Rug found his enthusiasm infectious despite himself. And so the two settled down in a rather bizarre quest for fish, philosophy, and evolution. But little did the Rug know, just around the corner was a mystery about unravelling the very fabric of existence, both philosophy and fish. Time lapse, doo-doo-doo. The Rug stayed with the philosopher and Blot for a time, until one day he asked if he might check on his neighbour to gather some supplies. Ah, wood cottage down the lane, can't miss it. Oh, certainly, said the Rug, glad to be put to use once again, but sorry to leave his new life behind. The philosopher was an eccentric, absent-minded fellow, but his heart was in the right place. Bit odd for the champion of evolution. It was a short flight, and indeed the glassblower's cottage, the philosopher had mentioned this on the Rug's way before he left, was a stark contrast to the philosopher's literary tornado and messy, messy quarters we didn't even have time to get into, but trust me. Statuettes surrounded a prim little garden where flowers of every colour imaginable, and some unimagined, blossomed. And yet there was a distinct order about the place, as if this was where chaos itself came to calm itself and have a cup of tea. A woman opened the door before the Rug had a chance to knock. She had warm, bright blue eyes that sparkled with kindness and wisdom, and long auburn curls. Oh, a talking Rug! How delightful! The Rug thought of saying, I haven't said anything yet, and realised he just had, and wondered if that might have been redundant, flushing about his stitching. The glassblower laughed. The Rug peered inside. It was a beautiful cottage. Stained glass windows casting the light in a kaleidoscopic reverie. The glassblower barely made a noise as she moved, taking down a jar of marbles from the topmost shelf. They were black. No, onyx. Silver? Placed one down gently. What do you think of it? Bit small, the Rug said uncertainly. It's a universe, she whispered reverently. And the Rug did what any one of us from the beginning of time, object, mammal or otherwise, had done. Poked it to see if anything would happen. Careful, cried the glassblower. Oh, sorry, it's just... You're saying there's a cosmos inside that. Oh, well, I haven't set it off yet, wee Rug. This little marble houses the infinite. All possible futures lie in wait. It's with the right spark that something can begin to happen in a burst of fire. The Rug got a feeling in its stomach, if it had one, about something important about to happen. And he felt a little uncertain, because when he had come to life just a few hours ago, he expected a simple quest for objectivity and not much muddling in the fabric of existence. No pun intended. Do you think that maybe you might be able to create a universe where plot can thrive, one that might perhaps welcome a philosophish or he hesitated, talking rug. Such things didn't seem, thank you, rational to him for some reason, though much like the primordial essence. Oh, that seems so long ago. He didn't know why. Well, the glassblower furrowed her brow in concentration. I suppose every possibility has an equal and opposite improbability, and this was beginning to sound familiar, thought the rug, yet somehow ahead of his time. You see, art and science commingle together, and old meets new, and I suppose what I'm saying, little rug, is every world needs a dreamer. So if you have a dream, and plot has its evolution, and the philosopher has his ideas, perhaps the three of you joining me cosmos might be your next big adventure. And the rug realized suddenly that there was more to all of this than evolution and logic and philosophy, and some sort of uncertainty within creativity that wove itself into the most elaborate tapestry of all, of life. How will you set it off? He asked timidly. I'll warm it, said the philosopher, gently placing the little marble in a pan above a fire that hummed and crackled with energy. Coax it gently until I set off a series of events that might just lead to existence. Rugg was tempted to point out that, as far as he knew, existence had already happened, but then thought better of it. He supposed, I suppose I can go along for the ride, just see what happens. And even as he said so, he could feel the glass blower fading, the words getting fainter and fainter as a darkness began to envelop him. And lights seemed to shimmer all around with a crack that, if you blinked, you would have missed it. But maybe, just maybe, this was only the beginning of something extraordinary. Guys, thank you. I had fun carrying that
The wonderful Belle, Emilie Gold! Wonderful stuff. Quick bit of stand-up from me next. I am a father now. I have a 4 3/4-year-old daughter. She's great. She just started school in September. We live in West London, which is very similar to East London, and very progressive school. And her teacher welcomed us. Welcome parents, welcome to our school. One thing we do ask is that we don't push gender on our children. Let them find their own gender. Luckily though, Maya is very keen on pink and rainbows and unicorns and sparkles, so she very clearly identifies as a gay man. Her big ambition, her dream is to be a princess, like a lot of little girls, you know, over the decades. But now it's not so far-fetched, is it? You know, you could actually be a princess now. Look at Princess Kate, obviously a middle-class woman, isn't she? You know, and I said, look, this is possible now. You know, do what she did, because Prince Louis is a year older than you, Maya. So just do what Kate did. Wait to see which university he gets into through clearing. Apply to do the same course, which will be history of art, of course it will, and then just hang around the campus with tight sweaters on. And if you can't wait that long, I'm sure Prince Andrew would be keen. Thank you very very much. So it's time to welcome the next act. Let's see everyone stamping their feet, clapping their hands, and cheering for the brilliant Henison.
Just to be clear, I'm already aware that skinny jeans aren't fashionable anymore. Just can't get these off. Just gonna move this chair, 1 second. Back in the room, how are we doing? So it's become very trendy recently, for people to really fear and panic about the rise of AI. But what I want to say to everyone who's doing it is, where were you all 10 years ago when you were installing Alexas all over your house? Thank you. Because it's really funny when Alexa gets a song command wrong. But it isn't going to be so funny when Alexa is in charge of your emergency services, is it? You'll have an accident at home, you'll ring up. 999, what's your emergency? By the way, that's meant to be a robot voice, that's not John Lennon back from the dead. Heart attack. Heart Attack was a show that ran on CITV from 1990 to 2007, presented by Neil Buchanan. Thank God this room is mostly millennials. Thank you for being here. Speaking of art, I've been thinking a lot recently about Vincent van Gogh. I think he's named after the wrong music subculture. He should have been called Vincent Van Emo. Because he was history's first self-harmer. Oh, okay, that's a joke for me, that one, alright? And this guy, I'm sure, this is that, yeah. He's definitely a recovering emo, okay, alright? I can tell, I can sense it, alright? So I'm not from Brighton, I'm actually from London, but when I'm up at that city, I'm always under a lot of pressure to really stress the fact that I'm actually from there, because I'm uniquely aware that I look like someone who's moved to London and made the place shit. I've always felt like a real sense of kinship and solidarity with Brighton. When I'm in London, people come up to me at parties and they'll be like, yeah, but where are you really from, mate? Or I'll be walking along the London streets, white vanman will drive past, wind the window down and shout, "Oi, fuck up back to Brighton, indie boy!" That's offensive. That's our word. I can call myself indie boy, but want everyone else to use the Latin. Postus puncus. But when you are from the capital, people from the rest of the country, they love to challenge you on your geography. Just the other week, I was doing a gig and some lady from the Midlands shouted out, "Oi, I bet you don't know where Stoke-on-Trent is on the map." I said, "Oh, just got someone in from Stoke, okay." I said, "I know where Stoke is, thank you very much. It's in Staffordshire. If you want to know where Stoke is, it's a handy guide for you to remember. You can remember this. Leicestershire to the left of me, Shropshire to the right, here I am, Stoke in the middle with you." Who said comedy can't be educational? Has anyone here from the north? Anyone? Anyone? I'm an ally. I'm not going to hurt you. No, but I do love the north. I go to the north quite often, particularly the city of Liverpool. That's where my nan is from. And I really love visiting Liverpool because people Liverpudlians, they really do think like Liverpool is the centre of the universe. And it's got me thinking, when you think of... I'm getting fact-checked on the front row. Yeah, that's correct, they do. When you think about it, like you've got ancient Rome and you've got the Roman Empire. What if it was an alternative history where it was ancient Liverpool and you had the Liverpudlian Empire? You'd have Liverpudlian emperors with names like, I don't know, Caligula or R. Marcus Aurelius. Shakespeare's Liverpudlian Julius Caesar would be like, "Hey you, Brute." But yeah, James earlier was talking about becoming a dad, and I'm married. I've been married for 3 years. Been with my wife, well, she was my girlfriend before. Obviously, you all know that. I don't know why I'm explaining. for 11 years before that, and the other day the question did come up. Obviously, an inevitable question. About children, and this was my exact answer. This is exactly what I said. It's a very nerve-wracking thing for me, but I said, if we were going to have a child, I just really don't want to have a son. I just don't want to be the father of a son, because for me, there's nothing worse than being a dad and having nothing in common with your son. But if I have a daughter, I have technically created someone that I can gossip with for the rest of my life. That's a great compromise. I love that. All right, so it's become very... no, I've already done that bit. What am I talking about? Sorry. Pretend I didn't say that. Hang on. Okay, so I've lost you all. All right, I've lost you all. It's over from here. So for centuries, people have asked the question: what came first, the chicken or the egg? It's never bothered me that. What I've been wondering a lot recently is what came first, the barn or the barn owl? I mean, seriously think about that for 5 minutes. You know, what were these owls doing for years? Were they just like, you know, chilling in a tree in the forest, being like a, you know, what we could do in this place, a nice dry building with a thatched roof, some hay on the floor, and a beam for us to nest on? But no, owls, they really do live in my head rent-free. I live right near Epping Forest, so I'm used to hearing them hooting at night. You know, I'll hear a hoot in the distance, I'll give a hoot back. I've got a dialogue going on with this one particular owl. But recently, I've been panged with anxiety because I've been thinking, what if I'm catfishing the owl? I mean, I don't know what I've been saying to it. I don't know what breed of owl it is. What if it's just another lanky indie bloke in the distance doing the same shtick? Back to me. Yeah, it's left me really anxious that I should really go see a therapist about all this anxiety that I've been having. But instead of going to see a therapist, I've just been reading a lot about therapy online instead. I've been reading a lot about Carl Jung, the psychotherapist who was active in the early 1900s. Apparently when he first went to go visit Sigmund Freud, he said, Freud, man, I'm in your great city of Vienna, I'm in my 30s, what would you recommend to do when I want to go out? And Freud looked at him and he went, young man, there's a place you can go. When I tell people I do gigs, much like this evening, people always assume I'm in a band because of the way I look. I'm not in a band, but if I was, I know they'd be called Hip, because that way the tribute act would be called Hip Replacement. Look guys, it's just music puns, this is the act, come on, this is it, this is all I got. Right, I'm going to finish on this one here. Actually no, I'm going to try one other bit. If it gets a groan, so what, I'm going to try it anyway. I went to a séance recently where we could only contact Scottish ghosts. To be fair, we were using a glass Ouija board. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. I don't know if you're being too generous. But I'm going to end on this bit here. People are always slagging off vegans. Stay with me, Brighton. But I never hear these same people slagging off anteaters. They're always saying vegans, they make their entire identities what they... I mean, anteaters started that shit, man. The clue's in their name. Like, you would ever hear someone go to a wedding and be like, oh, I really hope I'm not stuck on the bloody anteater's table. He's going to be talking about ants all night long. But if you were a wedding caterer, I do imagine anteaters probably are the easiest animal to cater for, am I right?
Yeah.
Just me? Okay, cool. So I start events, main events, dessert events, inevitably someone's come up to you and be like, do you have a termite option? And you'll have to say, we don't serve aardvarks in here. That is an anthill I'm willing to die on. I've been Jack Henison. Welcome, Jack. Thank you very much.
Wonderful Jack Henison! And keep the applause going to your final act this evening, the fantastic Nick Helm!
More than that, come on! Hello Brighton, how are you? You alright? What the fuck was that? You alright? Yeah, you sounded like you were forced to say that. I did a gig in Margate on Thursday in a 45-seater theatre, and we sold 30 tickets. So I've been to Margate and I've been to Brighton, and I've travelled quite a long way, and I've done it for 55 people. And if you don't find that funny, then that's a fucking... It's going to be a long fucking 20 minutes. Right, okay, hello, I know you, right? You've been to see me before?
Yeah, we
Yeah?
know Elliot.
Say that again?
We know Elliot.
You know Elliot, right? You know the boy from Uncle. Yeah, I was in a sitcom called Uncle. Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe I'm here either. I was in a sitcom called Uncle, and people are always coming up to me and they're saying, hey, when are you going to make a second series? Well, we made 3. So here we are. Right, well, you know, it's such a nice little intimate gig that, what have I done? If I just paused my thing, I'm just going to, no, I haven't paused it. Yeah, so it's such a small intimate gig that I'll do some stories that I don't normally do. Does anyone know Jimmy Carr? Yeah, you've heard of the comedian Jimmy Carr. Did you just do that? Yeah, right. Well, it's about that. Right. So, because you're doing a seal impression, aren't you? Yeah. And stop that because the complete audience have been lost now, right? Because I've had to deal with you. I just got them on board. It felt like it was flowing, and then you fucked it, mate. So shut your fucking mouth for the rest of the evening. And I don't just mean the gig, all right? I mean anything that you do for the rest of the night. Shut your cunt mouth, all right? I saw this fucking. So Jimmy Carr. So I've done Deal or No Deal twice, right? I did Deal or No Deal did Celebrity Deal or No Deal, right? Where Jimmy Carr, you're all right, yeah, good, right? If you sit up straight, you've still got a good view. I'm just married, right? Yeah, cool. So I did Celebrity Deal or No Deal, and it was when Jimmy Carr was hosting it. He was the main guest, so I've done it twice. I did it once where Jimmy Carr was a guest and Noel Edmonds hosted it, and I did it a second time where Jimmy Carr hosted it and John Richardson and Sean Locke were the guests, right? And they had to do the thing. But the first time I did it, you know, you think that Noel Edmonds is a cunt, right? But when you meet him, you know it, right? Right? And when you do Deal or No Deal, right, they have like these, the wings, right? The wings before you go in. You've got the whole set, and then you've got all the pilgrims. Who's seen Deal or No Deal? Yeah, I mean, there's about enough people, there's almost enough people to play Deal or No Deal here. If I gave you all a box, then we'd have a couple of boxes left over, I think, right? But, so what happens is you do Deal or No Deal, and before you go out, you've got the wings before you go out, and you've got like the big space here, and then you've got the two things here, and you've got the main bit there with the phone where Noel Edmonds sits, then you have all the pilgrims there, and they all have to wear black so that no one can see them when the TV is on, right? And so you've got wings here and here, and before you come out on the wings here, there's a giant picture of Noel Edmonds, right? Dressed as God, right? And it's the last thing you see before you go out in front of the audience, right? And so we're doing Deal or No Deal. There was Sarah Millican did it at the same time, and she had all of her friends in, but Jimmy Carr didn't have any friends, so we were all comedians, right? And there was like one comedian who was a big guy, and at the beginning of the show you have to go up and it's called the Walk of Wealth, right? And so he had to go up and he did this Walk of Wealth, and he came over here and he put the thing down, and Noel Edmonds said, that's what we call the Walk of Wealth, yeah? And by the look of things you look like you could do with a bit of a walk. And he turned around and he goes, did you just call me fat? And Noel Edmonds just went, and then he moved on, right? And then what happened throughout the night was Noel Edmonds would just say horrifically inappropriate things, and then whenever anyone called him up on it, he'd just go. And so like later on there was a female comedian, and she had to open the box, right? And they said, okay, it's your turn to open the box. She said, oh, I've got a funny feeling in my box, Noel. And Noel went, can we just drop it, please? We've been doing this show for nearly 20 years. Can we please drop it with the box equals vagina jokes, all right? Grow up. For Christ's sake, grow up. I mean, you're supposed to be a professional comedian, and that's what you've brought with it. Try harder and do better, right? He did it in front of all of the audience, right? And all of the other comedians and everything. And then she just had to carry on, right? And then later on, the big guy, he lost it. And he said, no. We've been guests on your show, we come down here and we've come to do a good job, and we've had nothing but grief from you, and you've been having a go at us, and you've been pointing out our weaknesses, and you've been really rude. Well, we've had enough of this, Noel, and we deserve an apology. And Noel just went. And then when you watch the final edit, nothing that Noel Edmonds did ended up in the show, but they left everyone else's reactions in, so we all looked like we were fucking nuts, right? Jimmy Carr was doing it. He was going to take his money. Jimmy Carr was doing the money. He was raising money for a children's hospice, right? At one point they put a picture of Family Guy up, right? You know, Family Guy. And there was Peter Griffin, who's the main guy. Family Guy's not my show, right? I only ever watch Family Guy at 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm in a travel lodge, right? That's the only time. And whenever you're in a travel lodge, it's just sort of you go in there and you go, I don't know how this TV works, but if I can find ITV2, then I can get through the night. That's it. Because you get, you know, you have to double bill of Family Guy and then American Dad, which is basically the same show, right? And so you got Peter Griffin from Family Guy, and then you've got Quagmire over it, and then you've got the guy in the wheelchair over here, right? And the banker phones up, and Noel Edmonds is looking at his picture, and he says, "Oh yeah," and he's talking to Jimmy Carr, and Noel Edmonds says, "Yeah, the banker here. He says that you look a little bit like that character over there. Don't you? You look a little bit like Quagmire." And Jimmy Carr, who's obviously heard this before, he says, "Well, you just tell the banker, giggity giggity, right? That's how he said it, right? He said giggity giggity." And Noel Edmonds said, right, without missing a beat, giggity goo. Everyone's genitals retracted into their bodies, right? It was the most gross thing, right? So he says, "Just tell the banker, giggity giggity." And he goes, "Giggity goo." Right? And Jimmy Carr turned around and goes, "Creepy, Noel, real creepy." He was absolutely fucking mental, right? So I did a thing. So Jimmy Carr talked about me on his Netflix show, right? He had a Netflix show a couple of years ago, and he talked about me. Because he came to see me in a show once. I had this real blockbuster show in 2013. I did a show called One Man Megamyth in the Edinburgh Festival. And it was a huge blockbuster. It sold out every day. It was a huge seater. It was like 400 seater, and he sold out every day. So you know things have gone downhill. At least I sold this one out, am I right? We sold it out. So I did this huge show with Jimmy, and one day Jimmy Carr came to see me, right? Jimmy Carr came to see me 3 years in a row, right? On the first year, no, 4 years in a row. On the first year, he had this laugh, right? And I got everyone up on the stage, right? And I saw him. You going to be coughing all the way through the show? So it's just such a small room. You'd save it for after. Jimmy was sort of Jimmy came to see me 4 times, but on the 4th time he came to see me in 2013, and there was literally, it was a really good show. But there was a point where I had to walk from one part of the stage to the other. Now, the day Jimmy Carr came in, the audience was really quiet, a little bit like you guys, right? And so on the day Jimmy Carr came, the audience was really quiet. And what it turned out was that the audience all knew that Jimmy Carr was in the room, and they shut up. Jimmy Carr. Right? And the whole audience knew that he was in the room, and everyone was basically just waiting for him to laugh so that they could laugh, right? And it was really annoying, right? And at one point I walked from this side of the stage over to the other side of the stage, and the only person in the room that laughed was Jimmy Carr, right? And I walked from this side of the stage to that side of the stage, and he went, "Ah, ah, 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 ah." And I turned around and I said, "All right, Jimmy, I don't laugh during your shows." And the whole audience, they went mental, right? And then we got them on side and it was all fine. Now, Jimmy Carr took that anecdote, right, and he started using it on his stage, and so on stage, and it ended up in his Netflix special, right? And what happens in the Netflix show is he says, "Has anyone got any questions for me?" And someone says, "Oh, what about your laugh? What's the strangest heckle you've ever had?" And he comes onto his Netflix show and he goes, "Well, my good friend Nick Helm, this is a Netflix show, like millions of people have seen it, right?" He goes, "My good friend Nick Helm didn't get a single follower out of it, right?" He says, "My good friend Nick Helm, my good friend Nick Helm." It's just like, well, you haven't returned a text from me in 4 years. So it's like saying, "My good friend Nick Helm, my good friend Nick Helm," right? I went to see my good friend Nick Helm. I went to see my good friend Nick Helm. Just telling everyone, I went to see my good friend Nick Helm. Went to see him, and I saw him in the Edinburgh Festival. And at one point I laughed, and he turned around and he said, "All right, Jimmy, I don't laugh during your shows." And his audience, they gave a medium ripple of applause, right? A medium laugh, right? A medium laugh. And it's just like, yeah, you're going to get a medium laugh, right? Because you're Goliath, right? It's like David and Goliath, and it would be like Goliath turning around and go, yeah, you know what, I'm all right with it, you know, and just sort of like, I mean, I just looked at your face when I was telling you that. You're looking at me the way my dad looks at me. Right?
I'm listening, sorry.
Yeah, I can't see you, listen. So, it was a good gig, you know, they listened. No, it was a 5-hour round trip. So I tell you this thing. Jimmy Cargan, he tells this thing on stage, right? He tells it. So it gets this medium reaction, right? And then he has to do the press run for the entire thing, right? And so he goes on all these shows, right? So he goes on Alan Carr's Chatty Man, and he goes on Jonathan Ross show, and he goes on all the other chat shows. And then he goes over to America, and he does a bunch of the Jimmy chat shows over in America. And he's telling the same anecdote. And weirdly, I guess, the story that I do, that he tells people, is that it's the cleanest story in the whole show, right? So he goes on all these chat shows telling this story where he sat like opposite Jimmy Fallon, and he's like going, well, my good friend Nick Helm, right? And they're all like going, oh yeah, right? And it's just like, they don't know who I am, right? You know, he's gone all the way around the world telling the story, my good friend Nick Helm, my good friend Nick Helm. And then he comes over to England and he starts doing it, right? Now the fucking, on one Saturday night, I'm getting ready to go out, and Jonathan Ross show is on, right? And on the sofa in the Jonathan Ross show, there's Barbara Windsor, Ed Sheeran, Lewis Hamilton, David Walliams, Jimmy Carr, and fucking Jonathan Ross, right? And they have this setup bit where Jimmy Carr laughs, and then Lewis Hamilton turns around and he goes, "Hey Jimmy, you've got a funny laugh, haven't you?" And Jimmy goes, "Well, interestingly enough, I was at this gig and I was watching my good friend Nick Helm, right? My good friend Nick Helm, right? I was watching my good friend Nick Helm, and Barbara Windsor is there going, oh yes, like she's heard of me, right?" And then he goes, and my good friend Nick Helm, and then there's Ed Sheeran going, oh yes, Nick Helm, he's not heard of me. And he goes, Lewis Hamilton is there, my good friend Nick Helm, and Lewis Hamilton's going, oh yes. Right, goes all along, everyone's like going, my good friend Nick Helm, and everyone's going, oh yes, Nick Helm, we all know Nick Helm, my good friend Nick Helm, my good friend Nick Helm. And then he says, I had this thing when I went to see Nick Helm, and my laugh, I was laughing, and I go, and he demonstrates, he goes, and then immediately they cut to an advert break, and he never does the punchline of that story. So there was a moment in time where my name was just dropped as a setup for a random anecdote that had nothing to do with me in front of Barbara Windsor, who was there going, oh yeah, there you go. I eventually saw the material, and it was wedged in between a joke about a kid with Down syndrome and a rape joke. And I was like, I don't want to be your friend, Jimmy. So, right, can you imagine the biggest mirror that you can imagine? Can you imagine the biggest mirror that you can? What's the biggest mirror that you can imagine? What's the biggest mirror you can imagine? What's the biggest mirror? What's the biggest mirror? What's the biggest mirror? There's no right or wrong answer, is there? What's the biggest mirror you can imagine? What's the biggest mirror? What's the biggest mirror? What's the biggest mirror?
Football kit.
Shut up! Don't steal her moment. Right? This is her moment, right? You can do this. What's your name?
Kate.
You can do this, Kate. We're all willing for it. What's the biggest mirror you can imagine? What's the biggest mirror? You can imagine a mirror. You know centimetres and inches and feet. And, what's the biggest mirror you can imagine? What's the biggest mirror? What's the biggest mirror? Huge, yeah. What are the dimensions? Is it? What's the biggest mirror, Kate? What's the biggest mirror? What's the biggest mirror? It's not going to end until you give me some dimensions. What's the 100 feet? Fuck off, Kate. That's ridiculous. That's too big. 100 feet is ridiculous. I've got a 16-foot mirror, but it's not 100 feet. I live in a place. They fuck you, right? Who owns the house? Who owns the house or a flat? No one. No one. Who rents?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. who lives at their parents' house? Just trying to think of the options. Anyway, I bought a place. It's weird though, isn't it? We're in that time of history where you kind of like feel bad about the fact that you bought a place to live. But I bought a place just before. I did a TV series called Eat Your Heart Out, where I had to do 16 episodes of a food show one day where I had to eat 4 meals a day whilst going through a broken heart. And from the money that I made off that, I don't need to justify it to you. So I bought this flat, and but I was looking around these flats, and I found this flat, and it had this big fucking huge mirror, right? It wasn't 100 fucking feet. It was this huge mirror. It's this mirror that's so huge, right? To get to the flat, it's on the 3rd floor, and you go around these windy kind of like corridors, right? They wind, right? The corridors wind, right? At right angles, they don't like just swirl around, but like they wind, right? They're winding the corridor, right? And I'm on the 3rd floor, and it's like this mirror is fucking huge. It's like 8 feet wide and 16 foot tall. It's huge, right? It's huge. Every time you go in this room, the first thing you say is, "God, that's a big mirror," and you like tell people, "I've got a big mirror." If you came around my flat right now, even knowing that I've got a big mirror, you'd come in and you go, "Fucking hell, that's a big mirror." I go, "That's the mirror! That's the mirror I was telling you about. It's the big one, right?" You just think, it's on the 3rd floor. It's got these huge Victorian kind of windows that are made of metal. That if you chiselled them out and took it out, and you got like a crane, you could winch the mirror up on the crane, and it's like, but who's gonna fucking do that, right? It's like, how did they get the mirror? How did they get to the mirror? They must have had to build the building around the mirror. It's the only way. It's the only way, right? It's absolutely it's like a riddle of life, right? And I never want to know the answer, right? Because it's so like, I was trying to buy this flat, right? And they fuck you, right? If you try and buy it, if you try and buy a property, they fuck you, right? Now, I'm not going to say how much I paid for it, but let's just say I paid £1. They were asking for £1.25 for this flat, right? I said, "I'm not paying £1.25, I'll pay £1.10, right?" And they said, "We don't need to pay £1.10, we'll pay £1.20, and I said £1.15, and they said, "Deal," right? And then on the Friday night, before I was getting the keys, before the deal went through, on the Friday night, they said, "We've accepted your offer, right? But we're going to leave it open over the weekend, and if anyone offers a bigger bid than you, then they'll get it, but if not, it's yours. Unless you pay an extra 5p right now," right? And I said, "I'm not doing it." And then on the Monday, right, because it's 5p, right? It's 5p more for me, but it's 5p less for them, right? So either way, it's 5p, right? So it's the same difference to either of us, but I'm not paying it, right? And they were like, "Fine." And on the Monday, I got the flat, right? And they said, "You got the flat, right? If you want the mirror, it's £1,000, right?" And I said, "I don't want the mirror." And they said, "What?" And I said, "I don't want the fucking mirror, right? I don't need a mirror that big. I've got CDs. Yeah? I don't need a fucking 16-foot mirror." They said, "What?" I said, "I don't want the mirror." They said, "What?" I said, "I don't want it." And so on the day I moved in, they gave me the keys, and they said, "Good news, Nick." I was like, "What's that?" They said, "You got the mirror." I was like, "Of course I got the fucking mirror! What are you going to do with the fucking mirror? You're moving to the suburbs, right? You can't put it above a fucking fireplace on your fucking mantelpiece. I've got double height ceilings, yeah? What the fuck are you going to do? Grind it down and use it for your fucking driveway?" That's me. That's my time. Good night, everyone. Yeah, what are you going to do? So yeah, anyway, how are you feeling? It's a weird gig, isn't it? But it's good. It's really good. There's a coffee shop outside, and I've just had a cup of coffee. I don't really drink coffee, but yeah, it's fucking good, isn't it? So help yourself to coffee. Buy some coffee. Yeah, a really nice one. Thanks very much. I'm on tour in Brighton at the end of the year, so. I don't want any of you to come. And I just want big laughers, alright? So, thanks very much, guys. Have a good afternoon.
You're making Nick Helm! So that's the end of your comedy gig. Was it a lovely time you had? Thank you for for supporting live stand-up comedy. Yes, we better move on because the next show is about to start any minute, so they'll be coming in to set up. You have been watching Belle, Emilie Gold, Henison,